If you're like I was, you may be walking this world trying to find sense in all the suffering, find meaning and hope in the hopeless situations. I can tell you that I was completely lost. I kept asking God why, when my back was already broken, why it would keep piling on more and more weight onto my shoulders. I just didn't understand why this suffering had to keep intensifying, why I had to just keep spiraling lower and lower until I was completely hopeless. I felt worthless. I felt like nothing I did in this world really mattered. And yes, I'd seen miracles and I'd even felt the presence of God and Jesus. And even in that, they never spoke to me clearly to show me what I was supposed to do, where I was supposed to go. I've seen people who were on life support, they were ready to pull the plug, and God saved them. They pulled the plug and they woke up from the dead, from their coma. There was no chance, according to the doctors. I really did find that hope only exists within faith. It doesn't exist at all without that. If you don't have faith, you don't have anything. No hope, no meaning. Any hope that you have is because of that tiny little glimpse, that tiny little glimmer of faith that you still hold on to, that maybe, just maybe, there is meaning behind all this chaotic world that we all bump around in. It is all that matters. And that's why I realized whenever I hit rock bottom and God finally showed me the answers clearly, that I had been so blind. My ego had been running the show. It had the whole time. I thought that I knew best for where I was going. I thought that I knew exactly what I was supposed to do. Everything I did, I figured, well, God doesn't intervene. God might make his presence known every now and then to show he's watching, but that just means that we have to figure out what's best for us and the way to go. I was completely wrong. It is not until you get to the point where you're in an unwinnable situation. There's nowhere else to turn. Nowhere else except for God. You turn to that higher power and you say, I surrender. That is the only time you will ever have a chance of knowing that unwavering faith and that unwavering love that God shows. And he will come to you clearly for the first time. You still have to get rid of that ego, because that ego has been driving that train right off the tracks. You have to get rid of that. Without it, you can be free beyond your wildest imagination. So once you get rid of the ego, and then you realize, hey, I can't do this. I've been doing a horrible job. You know, everything in my life, all my talents, everything I learned, my job, my family, everything, I thought I knew what was best for me. I thought I was on the right track. I'd gotten a job where, you know, I was providing, and then that was all taken away from me. My back gave out, and then there was nothing. You know, it was like I had to reinvent myself. And I didn't know how to reinvent myself. Every step forward I took was 10 steps back. It got to the point where when the older people in my family started getting sick and dying off, and you know, the pillars of my community and family were all disappearing or just really in the same position that I was, lacking faith because of all the suffering. It wasn't until then that I begged God. I was like, please just show me the way. I said, I surrender. I can't do this. You have to show me what to do next. I will do anything you say. Just please help me find purpose. Help me find meaning in all this. And it wasn't more than probably 10 minutes later when he came to me and spoke to me clearly. I've spoken about my connection with God and my rebirth or enlightenment or whatever you want to call it a bunch of times on my older videos. He came to me in the form of a doe who walked along with me, beside me, as if it was my pet dog for at least a half an hour, maybe even more. It was a gift that I'm still unpacking, and I've barely even gotten the wrapping paper off of. Every day is new wisdom that comes from that same message, and I keep getting more messages. Every single day, something profound seems to happen to me. I lost my grandmother recently, and the day after, the day when it happened, a rainstorm came pouring down. I was actually doing a video at the time. I didn't know, but the rain came pouring down right when she passed. The next day, I was walking my dogs. A hawk landed on a tree above me. The hawk is a spiritual sign from the gods, according to some philosophies and some religions and beliefs. It landed above me and flew away. And then a few minutes later, outside of my kitchen window, I see 2 deer in my backyard. I haven't seen deer in my backyard in a long time because of all the construction going on. And it's been 5-6 years at least since I've seen deer around here, probably more than that. And 2 doe were out there just showing me my grandmother is safe and sound where she's meant to be. You will get signs like this too. You just have to open your eyes to them. And it's not your eyes, your physical eyes. It is your spiritual eyes, your spiritual senses. They're the only things that will capture what is truly meaningful. Now, your earthly senses will connect to those spiritual senses, and they will become one once you connect with God. So you will see the animals approaching you, the wild animals approaching you, and you will see how they seem to connect with you, or you will notice the cypress trees when you're on a walk, or the cedar trees, and whatever catches your attention, you need to take note of it. I just did a short video on building a personal relationship with God. I think that is the most important thing we can do. You know, Jesus said to go in the room and shut the door behind you to worship. And churches and religions and philosophies, they are very, very important, and they help so many. But for people who have the higher consciousness and higher frequency and are attuned into something different, and really even for the people who don't, I think a personal relationship with God is more important than going to church and all that stuff. Church is a great way to go worship, but they don't teach you how to connect. When you're out in nature, or when you're alone with your thoughts, you have to be completely alone. No friends, no family, no pets, because every single thing will take your focus off of what you need to be focused on, and that is looking for the answers from God. And He will send them, whether it's in a squirrel or a tree or a hawk or an owl, anything, a deer, a river, a gust of wind, when you ask a question, within the wind, I've felt so many answers. And you can feel it, and you'll feel that chill down your spine and that warming in your chest, and you'll feel that presence. Your ego will always try to tell you, no, that's just a coincidence. These things happen. My ego tried to tell me that my enlightenment moment, where the deer came out of the woods and walked alongside me, was just a coincidence. Maybe it was a deer that somebody fed and it was like somebody's pet. But then I knew deep down, I didn't listen to my ego. For the first time in my life, I stopped listening to my damn ego, because it knows nothing. It's there to tell you the most superficial things, and materialistic things is all it worries about, and power is all it cares about. It wants power over you, and it will do anything to convince you that there is no higher power, that you, even if there is, it says, then you are not worthy of it. And it couldn't be more wrong. It's a demon lying to you, but it's a demon that we have to live with. Just like somebody who has food addiction, you have to still eat food, even though you might be addicted to it and you might eat too much. I've got that problem too, but you have to learn that moderation is the key in that case. In this case, you have to learn not to listen to your ego at all. Your ego is trying to steer you astray. Don't listen to it. This life, I think about as training. For what? I don't know. Maybe we are supposed to be divine creators just like God was or is. Maybe we have to go through all these experiences so we know how to be that divine creator. I think of this life as, and all the suffering that we go through, as sort of like a pilot going through a flight simulator. They have to have that training, they have to have that practice before they go out and they fly in the air with, the higher stakes. We have to experience all the suffering and all the joy and all the beauty. But a lot of times the suffering gets so bad that we don't look at the beauty around us. We don't pay attention to all that stuff. But that is a mistake. You have to soak in the beauty and the joy and the peace. Let the dull moments seep into your bones. Soak it all up, because there's rough waters ahead. There always is. But when you have that inner peace, you know how, no matter how bad the storm gets, that God will guide you through it. I really do hope that you can hold on to your hope. You need that faith. And I understand it's hard, and you have to have so much patience. And I didn't believe myself when people used to tell me about all those miracles. I didn't believe it at all, because I never saw it in my life. I'd felt the presence, and I had felt it, but I never really saw him come to me, especially after my disability. It'd been 12 years after my disability, and God had thrown me little lifelines here and there that I just probably stepped right over. But really, he didn't make his presence known to me the way I needed him. And I realize now that it was just my ego telling me, hey, he was clouding my sight. The ego was clouding my sight. That's what demons often do. That's what darkness often does. They're there to obscure you from the truth. You have to look past all of that. You have to see the reality that God is there. It's like that poem, Footprints in the Sand, I believe it was. And he asked God why he'd abandoned him and hadn't been with him this whole time, and why there was only one set of footprints throughout his life after there'd been two. And he said, no, that one set of footprints is when I was carrying you. And that's exactly what God does. He will carry us through the hardest times. We just have to have the faith in him, because that faith means everything. Without that faith, we've learned nothing, and we're still letting the ego drive the show and run the show, and we can't do that. Excuse me. The ego is the enemy, but it's a necessary enemy that we have to tame. We can't ever kill the ego. It's always going to be there. As enlightened as you can be, you're still going to have that ego, and you're going to have those earthly desires and those earthly wants, and you're going to give in to them. Of course you are. And there's nothing wrong with giving in to some earthly desires. Don't feel bad about that. You can go out and have a good time, learn everything in moderation. If you do everything in moderation, it's perfectly fine if you go out and do whatever, and your body and God will tell you whether or not something isn't healthy, and whether you really need to make a change, and you will know for sure. You can lie to yourself, but you'll know for sure. If you're addicted to drugs or alcohol and it's a problem in your life, then you will know it deep down. And don't be blind to that stuff. Your body will show you. There's all kinds of things in my life that I used to love, foods especially, that I just can't eat anymore, because now I know that they just will make me feel like garbage for the rest of the night. But you know what? I had the joy from them, then I had the suffering from them, and then I learned my lesson from them. Because every bit of suffering is a gift within a lesson. Okay, that's all I got for today. God bless you all. Please leave the comments if you have something specific you want me to talk about. I never expected to get so much response to any of my videos, and I really do appreciate it. And if I don't get to your comments, I will try to. For some reason, YouTube hides a few of them, but I will comb through them and try to get to all of them, unless you're a troll, and then even then I'll still probably respond, because I don't mind trolling. I enjoy a good laugh every now and then. But let me know if there's anything that you've been struggling with. Maybe share your story if you're comfortable with that. And let me know if there's anything you want me, maybe I can help with something. I'm just here to offer a helping hand and bring hope to you in your darkest moments. I can't give you all the answers, only God can give you that. But hopefully I can help you, show you how to get to God and how to connect with him the way I did. And it was a game changer, I'm telling you. My life on paper is something that I wouldn't have wished on my worst enemy. And I would have been sick if I would have seen all these things, that the way my life had turned out. But I'm happier than I've ever been, ever. Because I have that inner peace, and I know that God is there guiding me. Okay, God bless you. See you soon.